Hey there, family. I'm so happy to be here again with you guys doing Technical Tuesdays with my man Tim. Just to give you an overview of what today's show is going to look like, we are at a critical moment in the markets. We're going to cover the overall stock market. We're going to look at the S&P 500. It's going to be a crypto-focused show, and I just told Tim a moment ago that this is going to be a true lightning round, which we're going to be timing our charts. You guys are going to be seeing us do live charting. Some of these stocks we are on top of. Some maybe we haven't looked at, right? But you're going to see us and get our opinion and see how we look at the charts. So both you're going to get lines in the sand, you're going to get support and resistance, you're going to get opinions, but you're also going to get live charting. And so buckle up. We're going to try to get as many things covered. I'll tell you right off the start, fam. Put your crypto in the comments section so that I know what you guys want to look at today, or stock. You know, GME, a very, very interesting story. We're going to start off by getting a bunch covered. We'll cool off with a little commentary. Then we're going to hit it hard with another lightning round. I got my man Tim here. We were just chatting about Bitcoin. Sometimes me and Tim are going to agree, and sometimes we're not. And so there's Tim, no holding back. You don't have to be nice. This is, we're going to war on the charts. Maybe we'll agree, maybe we won't. I think it's going to make for a better show. If you see something I'm wrong in, then challenge me. That way we can all sharpen. The Bible says iron sharpens iron, so I'm not afraid. Guys, thank you for joining me. Thank you for the like. Drop a heart in the comments. Hit the subscribe, because we're doing this every Tuesday as long as our schedules can accommodate that. And tomorrow is a big day, Tim. This CPI is going to impact the market. Just off the top, what are your thoughts on what are you expecting and in regards to the Fed tomorrow?
Well, the first thing, and I just got finished talking to the Investing Bros channel and community about this, what people need to know about tomorrow's data is what's happening right now in crypto. It's not, the stock market's not really dropping, at least last I checked, but crypto prices are dropping in anticipation of those numbers not being very favorable. I think there's a lot of investors scared that the inflation data will come out a little higher, and that Jerome Powell in the afternoon will give us reasons to believe that we'll have to wait way longer to get some form of a rate cut. But a lot of times what happens here is that you have this thing on the bullish side called buy the rumor, sell the news. On the bearish side, though, it would be sell the rumor, buy the news. And effectively, what's happening on Bitcoin and altcoins right now is we are pricing in bad news. What that means is if the news ends up becoming positive, it could be a very big bullish catalyst. The problem is we got to wait for the CPI data until 8:30 Eastern Standard Time tomorrow morning. That would, everyone out in California, that means you guys got to wait until about 5:30 a.m. your time. And then we have to wait till 2:30 to hear from Jerome Powell. So a lot of volatile movements can happen. Bitcoin's down, altcoins are down. We could have bottomed out today, but there's still a real chance we could go a little bit lower. That being said, in the last four, I don't know if you knew this, Josh, the last four FOMC meetings, the price of crypto has dipped into the meeting, and then after the meeting is over, it has on average rallied about 20% after that.
Well, I love that introduction, Tim. And you and I were just talking about it offline. And we were actually talking about our last Bitcoin conversation, which was that we had both said that there was a shelf below the current price at 67K. Now, in a chart that I gave the family a couple times over the last week, I've said true structural support is around 64K. Now, we broke out of the wedge that we were in that could have pushed us higher, and we got a pretty decently ugly candle off of that, Tim. And so both you and I were kind of suggesting the same thing, that it's, if the market wants to have more selling pressure tomorrow off of the news data release, then we could easily come down and hit 64. But both you and I do not see it as the beginning of a breakdown. We see it as the overall momentum is clearly been pushing us up ever since we hit that 59K. And this is just fear pullback. And really, I see it more potentially as a spring. Now, I'll throw this out there, Tim. You and I have not talked about this, but the overall volatility of Bitcoin has come down dramatically. We're sitting at a near all-time low for volatility. So what does that mean? It means that Bitcoin has become sleepy. It really, even though the price has been fluctuating and we've seen 74 a couple times, the truth is ever since we got up to where we got, we've really been moving sideways and it's been getting less and less volatile. Every time that happens, it precedes a significant break to the upside. And so I'm just gonna start this video off and tell everybody out there that I'm not feeling very bearish right now, even though I understand that we've got a gauntlet of FUD to run between today and tomorrow. And if the news is genuinely bad, possibly between today and Friday's close. But for me, I'm gonna be entering positions. I've been entering Ondo. I gave a trade alert on Ondo. Now you guys might say, Josh, you've been only talking about Ondo and Brett over the last couple weeks. I talk about what pays me, Tim. I talk about the ATM that I get the cash out. I run over to Fifth Street and I get the ATM out of Ondo. So you know what? I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to focus on that right now. I love Doge. There are other cryptos that I'm buying. I've been in a risk position that has not been paying me on SEI. SEI. We should definitely cover that for the family today. But let me just break this down. Both the S&P 500 and Bitcoin are somewhat saying similar things. We're in a gauntlet of fear, but I'm going to take, Tim, everybody over into my chart on the S&P 500 real quick. Let me get that set up. Right. And I want everybody to see what I see from a big picture view there. Let's pull that up. Okay, guys, what I want you to notice, and I like to keep charting simple. Obviously, this is an ascending triangle, and this will eventually break to the downside. Eventually, we're gonna fall to the outside, and a lot of people are gonna tell you, "Oh no, it'll come back in the channel." It could,
Josh.
It could.
I think that I don't think your screen got shared.
No, it didn't. It didn't get shared. Let's make sure it gets shared.
I literally for 2 days in a row over the last 2 days did probably about a minute of TA. I'm doing my live streams by myself at the moment because my business partner's gone, and I did 2 minutes of TA without sharing my screen, but I didn't catch it in the comments. So it's like I call it radio TA, and radio TA is fun from time to time. But
yeah, for some reason it's back to live mode. Yeah, let me try this. Oh, there we go.
All right, there we go.
Figured it out. All right, thanks, Tim. Appreciate that. Okay, guys. We've got a triangle pattern. This is the S&P 500. This is all of the top stocks in the US. A triangle pattern will break eventually to the downside. We're dead center to the middle of the pattern, and in recent days, we hit the top of the pattern, right? When we hit that, I told everybody, we're gonna get a pullback of at 6%. That's what formed the bottom of the structure that we're in. Now we're just trading right up in the middle of it. Now, I've had an opinion for quite a while that we are going to ultimately land at 5,500. But I want you guys to see these the way I see them. These are largely descending channels breaking to the upside, right? This is a descending channel, broke to the upside, descending channel, broke to the upside, descending channel. But I want to point something out to you guys. Do you see how the descending channel, the angle of it is less downward pointing? It's starting to straighten out. Do you notice that, Tim?
Yeah.
This is one of the things that you see before the final channel you get shifts from descending to ascending, and that normally breaks to the downside. So I like to keep charting simple, and I want everybody to understand today in the Discord, when we hit the bottom of this channel, I threw up a chart and said, guys, don't let this market fool you. It's bullish. And literally from that point till this point, we've pushed all the way to the top of the channel. Now, I want to throw out this scenario, Tim, as a possibility. It's possible that this particular move, if we continue outside of this channel, it could be that this channel is shaping up to be more of the ascending channel. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I would tell you that we don't have enough touches on this channel to confirm whether it's descending or whether it's ascending. All I can tell you is that this moment that we're in is not bearish. It's not bearish. Tomorrow, if we want to get a market sell-off, we could easily come back to 53.23, and I would then say the same thing. We're likely to hold, and we're likely to go higher. So that's an overview on the market. Tim, we're gonna mix it up, and I'm gonna have you run some technicals real quick on. Let's see, what do we want to have you run? What do you want to run, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, so you covered S&P 500 again. I 100% agree with you. I have a target around 4,800. I think, or no, sorry, you said 5,500. I think I had 5,000. Oh,
you've
got.
Now
I'm saying it.
Yeah,
I have to go back to it. I have to go back to it.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you look at the daily chart on Luxalgo, there is a take profit on a buy signal here a couple of days ago. 54. Okay, that's right. I'm getting my numbers all confused. About 5,400, but I saw your 55, and you know what? 55 is not ridiculous to put my number at 55. I usually like to take profit on the first level of take profit that Luxalgo pops up, so that's why I have 5,400 in play. But I think your TA there was spot on. I would say Luxalgo is in complete agreement as well. Not going to be surprised to see the S&P 500 up here flirting with 5,500 very, very soon.
All right, so we're just doing some traditional technicals. Tim is a guy that I like to talk to about Luxalgo. If you don't know what Luxalgo is, it's a suite of tools that you can use to get buy and sell levels as well as stop loss levels on different time frames. There's a link in the top pinned comment. You guys can check it out. Now, here's what my suggestion regarding Luxalgo is. You got to pay for it, right? And I remember, Tim, and you and we haven't talked about this, but when I first started trading, I only wanted to put my money on a stock, so that I could make some money, not realizing that I had to invest and put some money on me so that I could learn how to trade. And so I brought Luxalgo to the family so that they could have what I'm going to call a technical trading plan. Is it the goal for them to only use this for the rest of their lives? No. But until they learn the trend lines, the moving averages, the oscillating indexes, the Fibonacci, it gives them something by which to know I should get in, I shouldn't get in. We know, Tim, because we both did it. We did everything wrong when we first started this journey. Everybody does.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
People are literally buying GME when it hits above 40, even though they could have been watching my show, and I told them when we were at 24 that we would come down to 18 and we would go back to 40. That was Josh's technical prediction. It 100% came to pass. But instead, after that move occurred, when Rory Kitty was going live and they were feeling the hype, they bought in at 50 and now it's come down. Now, let's take a minute and let's cover some of the meme stocks. And why don't you throw up GME real quick and let's get an opinion. I've got an opinion on GME, but I'd love to hear, I'd love for you to show the family what the Lux says about it.
Yeah, currently actually having a very good day today after the pullback, after all the Roaring Kitty fiasco. You'll see here, if we're looking at the daily chart, we came up and we peaked right around where we had, well, it's called a bearish smart gel, this red cloud. Now, let me turn off one of these red clouds because you're going to get confused here for a second. So let me remove this reversal zone just for simplicity's sake. This red cloud right here, a good level of resistance. We rejected on it once, fell back down, came back up, and even though we changed it to now it's a cloud of support, kind of closed right there in that same area. Look what we've done. We've come back down, and we have bounced off of that cloud again today. We right at the moment are under a we're under a buy signal on Luxalgo that could take this price back up between $33 and about $38, give or take. Let's see what the oscillators are kind of doing here. Not as bullish as I would say. The RSI definitely, that's a very bullish sign right there with the RSI bouncing off of the 50. That's a good level of saying the bulls are still in control of the strength of the movement. What we're kind of watching on our Luxalgo oscillator, though, right now is the money flow. We're not really seeing a lot of money coming in or out. We're under a bearish momentum at the moment, but look for a potential reversal to come in there to kind of match what we're watching on the daily chart was saying we have some momentum today. I think this momentum does continue a little bit higher here and pushes over $33 is what I would expect for the daily chart to say about GME going forward.
Yeah, so I want to make the point that we are seeing overall less momentum in this particular meme stock run. I will say, though, that I agree with Tim that it appears to me when I've studied the charts that currently the bulls are in charge. We had this incredible push up from 18 back to 50 roughly, and it makes sense that it would cool off a little bit. But at the moment, I will be very clear, the bears are not in charge of GME right now. The bulls are just coming to a little bit of a trot before they potentially pick up the steam again. More people, you guys, all that money, when you hear about Roaring Kitty making $250 million or other people making a ton of money on this, I just want you to remember that when someone makes a ton of money, a lot more people lose. Now, I would love for the story to be that only the big money loses. But unfortunately, I've been in trading a long time, and after the last meme stock, a lot of people got utterly wiped out. If you go watch the movie, which was based on the actual story, there's people that were part of that movement from the beginning to end. And one of them, I think, was, I forget what the woman did for a living, but at one point she put in everything she could, all of her pennies and dimes, it was like $10,000, and she was up to 300,000, Tim. But then at the end of the movie, it gives you like that account, and she was back down to like, $20,000. And so I'm not a big GME guy. I'm just a trader. I'm an analyst and a charter. Okay. So I'm not gonna suggest that I know everything about the GME movement. I'm only gonna tell you that if you're not a master trader, then you need to be more careful with your money, which simply means you got to put a stop loss in. Keeping it simple, I'm still bullish on GME at the moment, and I originally had gave the prediction regarding AMC of exactly where we got close to it. More than likely, Tim, I won't be wrong. I've got a track record of only being right on AMC. So we came within 20 cents of my prediction. We didn't hit that one. And you know what? More than likely, the stock price will just get to where I said it would get, and that'd be the end of the story. So until it gets there, I'll give you guys the next prediction when that one comes to pass. Okay, let's get into the next play. I see a lot of requests we got Bonk, we got Riot. Let's take a quick minute, Tim, and let's cover Mara. And let me just give you guys some thoughts. I'm going to quickly jump into the Mara chart, guys. All right, Tim, you can see that?
Yep.
Okay, guys, I'm going to keep things simple. When we were breaking out, I want to just, be curious to get Tim's thoughts on this because we've talked about Mara a few times. Mara is absolutely a bullish trend. If you go back to when this thing was down at $3.50, even though the price has been way volatile, if you take a look at the overall chart, it's really nothing but bullish. Now, you want to be a buyer on support on the miners because they vacillate. And if you're in the wrong option, if you loaded up on options up here, then you got wrecked. You lost every single penny that you invested. But you get into the options down here, and you're killing it. Now, in recent days, when we were sitting right here at the bottom of this ascending channel, which again, what do ascending channels do? They break eventually to the downside. Well, after we had hit the bottom of this channel about 5 or 6 times, I was warning everybody that based on this bearish candle, which is a tall wick candle, that we were likely to break to the downside and we were going to find support at 15. Well, we did. This was a perfect time to re-enter. But having said that, it's very tricky to trade the options on Mara because even if you had entered at 15 and it came up to 21, this movement, if you don't have the right options pick, this is an option premium killer right here. It's largely got these huge moves, kind of moving sideways. I'm going to keep it simple. You just heard Tim and I tell you that we were largely still bullish on Bitcoin. There's a lot of signals in the chart that even if we were to come down to 64, I would view it more as a spring moment. That is also going to have a big impact on the miners. Now, the miners are underperforming Bitcoin, obviously. But here's the thing. I've said many times, if you followed my page, back in the day, even back here, $18 is a massive neckline. It's a massive structural support for Bitcoin. And so where are we at? We came down beneath 18 and it just created a very bullish candle back above 18. So, you know, if you've been on the page, this was the spot to take risk. And in my mind, if Bitcoin gets to 74 and maybe even above it, I do not see why we won't hit 25. And so I would tell you that I'm bullish on the miners. If we get any kind of dip tomorrow, as long as we stay above 18, I think that's a decent entry. Now, if we want to look at the overall candle pattern, what do we have here? We've got another channel, a descending channel that I'm expecting will break to the upside. Tim, why don't you give them, why don't you cover a different miner? And why don't you pull up, go ahead.
Do you remember, did we talk about Mara last week or the week before that?
I think both times.
Because I went to my screen, just because I always put my chart we were talking. Share my screen for a second.
Yes.
This was up on my screen when I pulled up. So I don't know if we set this up last week or the week before, but we actually went through a trade setup where we said we were going to buy at $18, and then we're looking for a trade to come in back here. We set this up, again, at least a week ago, if not before. The price action has not been this level. Look at where we wicked down to today. We came right to 1765. People would have entered in perfectly. The reason why is because here on the daily chart, this is Luxago, this red cloud of resistance is called a smart trail. We rejected on it several times, and we told you guys, look, there's a very interesting order block on the daily chart at this level and on the 4-hour chart, a very interesting order block. Watch for price to come back down to this level. That would be a very good long opportunity, and sure enough, again, we have to let this play out, get it back up here above $20, but looks at this point like that was darn near close to a perfect long entry position, and we called that about a week ago.
Well, you know what, Tim? Are you suggesting that we might be doing some decent technicals on this show?
I might say that we could be guilty of some good TA from time to time.
All right, if you guys are in the minors and this TA's helped you, one, throw a heart in the comment, and two, go over to Tim's page. Now, he's a guest here, but he's got his own YouTube page. It's called Investing Bros. And there's going to be a link in the description of this video, as well as the top pinned comment once this video live is over. And I want you to make sure to go over and check out his account. Tim, I just want to thank you again for being on the show. And yes, we've both covered the technicals on Mara, and we both told them last week at 18 was a buy. And that's why I'm saying that if tomorrow is volatile, I'm going to take a risk position in calls, maybe just intraday, right? Maybe just intraday, I don't know, because I favor the move up to 24. And so far, we called it perfectly last week, and I'd hate for you guys to be left behind when next week we're saying, wow, look at that. We're up here at $22, $23. Where are we going to go next? We're back in the channel. That's another point that I gave, that I've given in the past regarding Mara. If we recapture the channel that we're in, that's super bullish. That's super bullish. Right now we're outside of it, but if we get back up to that 23 to 25 range and we recapture it, and we close a couple candles, specifically I want to see a weekly candle close, that actually opens up the door to $30. And remember, even if you're like, Josh, I got burned on the miners, even if you did in the past, let me remind you, when the miners want to move, they move. And so I don't want to hear it like Keenan Grace. We got to give a shout out to Keenan Grace, who pull out the notebook. I don't have a notebook, but he says, I'm going to bop you. Don't come to this show and ask when it's $24, $25 and Tim and I are slapping each other high five on a great call and some money made. Don't ask if it's time to buy or short, because I'm not going to be looking to short there. I'm going to be looking to raise a stop and keep an eye on it, because there's the potential, if we're in the channel, to really get moving and make even bigger gains. All right, someone asked, Parlor Talk with Ada Marie Crosby says, does Josh have a video on Lux? I do not have a video on Lux, but what Tim and I have been doing over in the Stock Squad Patreon, that's the Discord that I do with the Stock Squad, me, Larry, Keenan, and Mo. The four of us are providing technicals, trade alerts. Now, Tim and I have been going in there every week, and we've been doing deep dive tutorials over Lux Algo so that you guys can ask questions. You know, we can break down every little thing that it means, and you know, those have been great because, you know, it's one thing to have a tool, it's entirely another to know how to use it. That's where the magic begins, is to better understand the tool. All right, guys, I've been asked to do Tesla. First of all, I'm having a great time. I think it's a great show, Tim. I want to thank you again. Let's get into Tesla. I'm going to give a quick overview, and I'm going to keep my technicals short so we can get some of Tim's technicals in. But let's just talk about what's going on. In the Discord, I've notified a couple times that Tesla was in a critical spot and that we are waiting for confirmation of a breakdown. Yesterday, we got that. Now, the puts to the downside have been printing. This is part of a call that I actually began and entered long-term puts when we hit $198. That's when that journey began for me, and I predicted that we would come down to 160. Now, it did something I didn't expect. It actually got down to around 175, 174, 177, and it just stayed flat forever, right? And that's interesting because it's kind of building an area of resistance that we're going to have to fight our way through because a lot of buyers bought there, and I don't like seeing a big wall like that built. So 177, for anybody who's into Tesla like I am, just be aware that it's going to take a lot of momentum for us to break down that wall when we finally find our bottom and want to go higher. But when we were at 200, I said that we can't break above 200 unless we backtest 160. Now, 160 is a general price zone that I felt at bare minimum we'd have to test. But the truth is, when we get down to 160, you're going to hear something new from me that you haven't heard before, which is that 153 is an area of concern as well. That's if things get ugly. Now, why would they get ugly? We've got two big problems. I'm not going to dwell on it. The auto industry, the housing industry will not go up on elevated interest rates, okay? So stocks that are tied to those two industries are not going to thrive when the interest rate is high. They're going to do well when the interest rate comes down. And then we have a double problem, which is the fact that nobody wants to pay Elon for his time. You know, the poor guy, he tried to go cash that $56 billion check and it bounced on him because, they put a stop on it politically. So there's a big vote Wednesday. There's a big vote Wednesday to see if Elon can get his pay package approved. And if you asked me, I don't really know. I would say that it's a pretty strong likelihood that it won't pass. I mean, because you got the 8th largest shareholder saying that they oppose it. And so I don't know if it gets passed, then it's likely that we're going to fall into the news. If it got passed, we'd take off. But let's say it doesn't get passed. And if that produces the hard sell-off that I'm suggesting that would get us to 160, I'm going to tell you the same thing about Mara, is that this has been beat down a long time. So we're not at the top of the range. So in my mind, we've got bullish divergence on the chart. So these moves down, as long as they don't make a new low, the chart is giving us another buying opportunity. And so let me just take you guys really quickly into my screen. Let's see here, Tesla. Okay, yeah, I wanted to talk about another area of bad news, Tim, that we got today. Can you see the news article?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so Tesla Robotaxi, there was a report that came out from the company to a JP Morgan analyst client report that basically said that the Robotaxi launch has been delayed. Personally, that's not a surprise to me. This also went on to suggest that it was more than a couple years away. So I think that largely has already been priced in. We've had a pretty big move down today. We touched 171. I've got some indicators here on my chart. We're still underneath those indicators. So it means it's still controlled by the bears. Overall, I do kind of like this channel, which I believe ultimately will break to the upside. Let me just switch things around here real quick. Okay, got a lot of indicators on here. All right, so what I want you guys to understand is that we have had a breakdown of structure. So here's what I want you guys to take away from this brief moment in which I'm looking at Tesla with you. Structure is, as I see it, at 173. Now, the way that these breakdowns occur is they often will back test structure before going lower. And so even though we came down to let's see what this, the lowest price was 167, and we broke into the 160s, it wouldn't shock me if we come back and try to get back above 173. If we fail to get back above 173, then you can just rest assured that this 160 is absolutely inevitable. And so this right now is, it went down a lot today, came back up halfway. Pre-market or opening might test 173. If we don't rocket ship above, then within the first hour of tomorrow, then I would suggest that we are going down to 160. Largely, I believe that the bullish divergence on the RSI points to a larger move higher, back above 198. And I'll just leave you guys with these thoughts because it's so important that investors understand this, right? Apple is a perfect example right now of smart money bought in the past here. 4 to 6 weeks ago when we were down at 165, they started buying this up from 165 all the way up to the news that Tim Cook came out with that the AI did not stand for artificial intelligence, but instead he said AI is our DOMA. It stands for Apple Intelligence. Now, he got a lot of chuckles from the rest of the world because he hasn't proved it yet. He needs to prove that statement. But smart money was buying all the way back 5-6 weeks ago, and typically retail hears a story like that, and when the stock price is $205, that's when they begin to buy. Now, personally, we'll get into the Apple chart in a minute, but the point I'm making is let's consider buying Tesla now, right? Before the interest rate news, before before Elon's pay gets approved. Buy it when it's beat down instead of waiting for it to get back to 200 and get excited about Tesla again. What do you see, Tim, in the Tesla chart?
Big move on Apple today. Or did you say Tesla chart?
Yeah, let's start with Tesla, then we'll get to Apple.
Let's start with Tesla. Yeah, I was actually, I was doing TA alongside you with Tesla. Again, there's some things that you're doing that I don't do the TA the same way as you, and I loved how you introduced it. Like, sometimes Josh and I are not going to see things the same. Sometimes we're going to disagree. It's weird how often we come at these things from completely different thought processes, but kind of have similar points. On the daily chart, as we've rejected here recently on an order block, I was watching 153. I said 153 looks like an area to come back down onto the daily smart trail, the blue cloud here of support. We have not touched this for support since we turned it back into a support cloud. Well, if I go down to the 4-hour chart, guess where it's saying the point of last return before the 4-hour chart turns bearish? 161 technically, but that take profit at 160 is an area of concern, and we've just built a bearish breaker block, a level of extra strong resistance, meaning a lot of sell orders coming in here around 173. So even if we bounce back up to 173, we could even get all the way to 175, but still get rejected and make our way back down towards 160. And if that's lost, I'm keeping my eye down here around 153.
Yeah, I love it. I love it because it's nice to have the two of us do these technicals together and for us to see confluence, even though I'm okay if we don't agree. Let's look
Right.
real quick at Apple because Apple had a big move, and
Yeah.
so I'm going to share something first that is bearish
Go
on
for it.
Apple, and you tell me if you're more bullish looking at the chart. So volume. I like to keep charting simple. And there's the first two dynamics to looking at a share, looking at a stock is the price, okay, is it going up, and the volume. Is it going up on high volume? Now, we've gone up on low volume. Now, here's another volume rule. If we're at the bottom and at support and we have a really big volume day, that signals a reversal. However, if we're at the top and we're at resistance and we have a very high volume day, that also signals reversal. So high volume days at the bottom of a trend or the top of the trend signal the end of the trend it's currently in. Now, Apple has been going up on low volume day after day. I've talked about it for the last 6 weeks. I also predicted that we would get to $201, so that's another accurate prediction that's been consistently made on this show. Now, we got to 201, we blasted above it and got to 205, and we did it on the biggest volume day that Apple's had in a very long time. So we're at the top of the move, we're at resistance with a high volume day. These are concerning for me, Tim. Let me know what you see in the charts. Let's give you a chance at it.
So before I turn on Lux, I think there's something to be mindful of right now, and that's a rising wedge in play. It's where we have higher highs and higher lows, but they're converging. More often than not 100% of the time, but more often than not, these end up falling back to the downside. What Josh is talking about, we are seeing an excessive amount of volume on today's very bullish candle. And I'll add a little bit to what he's saying, because there's two reasons why volumes spike. Either one, volume spikes, like Josh is saying, because you're hitting a strong level of support or resistance and the price is about to flip, or you're wrestling with a strong level of resistance, for example, on the bullish side, and you need the bulls to get extra volume to break through. Now, it's way too early to say this for certain. We're flirting with the concept of, can we break through this level of resistance? I think it's going to be a tall order, though. I'm leaning still a little bit probably more bearish here, and I'll show you why. On the weekly chart, on the daily chart, we printed a buy order here a little bit ago. We broke very powerfully today through an order block, which was some good resistance. This is now going to be some good support for the way back down, but we're coming up close to hitting our more aggressive take profit on Luxalgo. Now, when I look at this, is I say, okay, we're on the daily chart right now. We're hitting our take profit on the daily chart, but maybe if the weekly chart has room to grow, maybe we break even higher than this higher take profit on the daily chart. Maybe we have further to go to the upside. Well, if you come over the weekly chart, you have a little bit, technically speaking, but not necessarily a whole lot. Could we get a wick to come up to roughly 212? Maybe, but that's not a lot higher than we currently are sitting. So what I would love to see, if I want the bulls to continue, I'd love to see this volume continue to come in very, very high and push up again closer to what I say on the weekly chart, that level. I want to see it push all the way to 212. If it stops, if the volume slows down, even if we touch that level, we could end up seeing a wick come back down and fall back down below, and then ultimately we're left at that point with a falling wedge, rising wedge that falls the price back down. Now, the thing I'm looking at right now is that the oscillators massively saying that we are oversent to the upside. Stochastics has been riding 100. It is waiting to fall back down. We're getting close to being oversent on our RSI. And while we're not kind of scooping over yet here on the weekly chart, I bet you when we come to the daily chart, here's something I'm very concerned about. This is bullish at the moment, but I think I've talked about this in the Discord before. Right now, this whole move is being propped up by excessive buyers. This symbol right here, this green cloud and red cloud, this is money flow. And this is, when it's red, the money's flowing out. When it moves back to the upside, that's money flowing in. But a lot of times you see like a light green or a light red period talking about excessive either buyers or sellers. And the going is very good when those excessive buyers are in play. But when they leave, you'll see a very fast keel over and a descent. And it's like, I've kind of given the scenario of like, if you took a basketball and you press the basketball underwater, let's say you're in a swimming pool, you press the basketball underwater. As long as you keep pushing on the ball, that ball you can go all the way down to the floor of the pool. But the minute your hands come off that ball, what does it do? It shoots up through the water. And a lot of times these excessive buyers and sellers will do the same thing. Right now, we have a lot of excessive buyers pushing and pushing and pushing the price to the upside. But when they leave, and they will, that pressure will come off, in this case, bullish pressure, and there's a likelihood, a pretty high likelihood, that the price will want to explode to the downside, back down to at least some support levels we have. And again, we've developed a nice one at the moment, somewhere in the range of about 197, but I think there's a decent chance that one, it was just made today, wouldn't be the hardest one to break back down. Look for potentially back down towards the support of the wedge for price to come back down closer to 176. If I'm right here and the bulls leave very quickly, you could see a dramatic price drop if those things play out.
Yeah, you and I see that very similarly. I was actually going to call out on the Discord, on the chart I gave the fam, my price was this. So I like to give people lines in the sand. 197 is a critical level that if we were to consolidate and stay above for like the next month, then I could say that we are going to get to 220, 240. I agree with a number that Tim shot out because it was actually very similar to one that I wrote down, that between today and tomorrow, 212 wouldn't shock me. Now, I'm not calling 212. When I make a call, well, I like to see those calls come to pass. I made a call that we were going to get to 201 the day that we held above 193. We got above it, we back tested. I said, guys, this is going to 201. Now, this is an if call. If we stay above that 197, then we can begin to make a really incredible move on Apple, which, because we're living in an AI world, I wouldn't dismiss that idea. However, if we lose 197, then my price was back to 180, which has been the most significant price point in Apple over the last year. And so now we would be testing above it, and if we got to 180, we'd make a higher low. So 165 was our previous swing low, 180, 177, but 180 would largely be our higher swing low, and that would be a bullish move back to 200. Overall, Apple's holding up well. We've been waiting on Tim Cook to do his AI thing. He finally did it. This could open up to Apple's doing the share price doing well. Largely, I think we're going to move sideways. We're going to come back and test 180, and then maybe in the next 6 months be as high as 240. That's very, very possible. All right, let's. We want to get some crypto in here, Tim. Ondo. Let me just quickly throw up my chart for Ondo. I'm going to keep it short because I like to get Tim's time in here. Let me do some moving around. Okay, guys, now I'm going to make a little change to a post I did in the Discord. So I had this idea, Tim, that the best buy price would be 115 to 110. This is almost like a greedy buy price. However, I think it's possible that this move was the low, right? And so I've been buying here. Like I sold, everyone got the notice to buy again at around 112. I told them that I was going to sell again above 145. I did that. Now it's been about I've been buying, and I have Ondo, but it's all about buying big orders for me. Not everybody, this is not for everybody to follow Josh. It's just what I'm doing. If we got down to 115, this is where I was going to load for a move back to 160. In a nutshell, I'm bullish. I love the fact that Ondo's come back a little bit and given us another opportunity to enter. I don't think the Ondo run is over. I originally had 160 as an area of strong interest. And my question to you, Tim, is do you think I'm getting too greedy to wait for it to come back to 115 to make a bigger buy? What do you think?
No, I mean, again, I think, Josh, people are going to start thinking that we're lying to them when we say that we do not talk before the show. But I'm telling you, we are both very strong believers in Jesus. We both have high morals. We do not lie.
No.
Share my chart. My levels are a little different. This is what I've told my community. There's an order block in a smart chart on the daily chart, ranging between 118 and about 110. If you go down to the 4-hour chart, there's a nice order block and the aggressive take profit at 114. So I've pinpointed 114.
Wow.
As
Very
my level.
interesting. Very interesting.
That is my level to buy. I come back over the daily chart. I think we're close. Stochastics has already bottomed out. We're hovering around the 50. The MACD hasn't caught up. And our Luxago oscillator, we have a green reversal in play, and the money flow looks like it wants to go bullish. But I need to see a buy. I need to see the momentum turn green. So that tells me, hey guys, we're dipping, and I think we could go a little further. That's the target that I have for Ondo down here to 114. Is what
I love
I'm
it.
looking to buy.
All right, let's cover a couple more stocks here, a couple more cryptos. There's requests for Clean Spark, requests for AMP. Can you go over entries with Lux Algo? Why don't you go over entries a little bit when we do the next play?
Okay.
Let's go ahead and give a little love. Let's give a little love to. It looks like quite a few requests. I haven't covered ING, and I've been wanting to cover it more. It's not that I don't pay attention to it. It's just, you can't cover everything. Guys, the likes are not where I like them to be. Now, if you're on and you're enjoying the show, guys, give us a pump. I like to finish a live with Tim with 1,000 likes. We're at 532. Guys, what does that do? One, it pumps me up and gets me more excited about giving you guys technicals. Two, it feeds the YouTube algorithm and pushes this page out to more people. Puts more eyes on Tim as well. Tim, your page just had a big move.
Yeah.
You practically doubled in the last couple months. Tell us about that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, so our channel, we started, I don't think that long after you. I know your channel started in 2022, right? You started your channel in 2022? All right. So, yeah, we started in late, like November, early December of 2022. And we had some good growth in the beginning. We had a small base, but I would say probably we picked up a little momentum this year in January. And then when I came on your channel first, I want to say we were in the realm of 12,000 subscribers. I think somewhere right in that range.
Can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
The night before I had you on, I went and took a peek, and I vaguely remember it being 12,800.
Okay, 12,800. So I wasn't that far off. That's good. Memory's still working for me. Today we are over 21,000, and that was about I don't think I've even been on the channel now for 2 months with you. So in less than 2 months, we have just about doubled in subscriber count. The momentum is just going berserk. View count. I mean, this week we went from I would want to say like a couple of months ago. It was a good video if we got to 2,000 to 3,000 views a video. I think this entire week we've been hitting like 10,000 views on almost everything that goes out.
Well, can I just say, Tim, can I just say that I think you deserve it, and I want to remind everybody, if you don't, this is a way to better understand who I am. I wouldn't have Tim on if I didn't personally like what he was laying down. If I didn't think that he had something to contribute to me with technicals, I wouldn't have him here. But he's been contributing to my understanding of the Lux Algo, and he's been helping, I believe, a lot of people get over to Investing Bros and hit that subscribe. I think 20,000 is the beginning. At bare minimum, I think he's going to double that in the next 6 months. I'm hoping for better, but that's our goal. Join us in Tim's journey to grow and touch more lives with helping people make money. All right, I'm going to get to Doge next. Let's cover ING real quick. Tim, I'm going to let you give some technicals on that.
The INJ injective?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, so I'm right now looking, I'm going to use kind of similar principles to some things we were looking at with some other charts here. Recent rejection once again on this red cloud, the smart trail. It's a resistance movement. We rejected here again. We had 2 wicks actually show us a chance we were going to break above it, but of course we rejected. We got an order block on the daily chart coming in. I like this area around 2450, give or take. I find confluence on the 4-hour chart where we also have that same order block in play. A very strong order block where there's a lot more sellers that will be exhausted than buyers. That's a little complicated. We kind of talk about that when we're teaching Lux Algo. What you guys need to know, simplicity though, this also is the take profit level after the sell order we had on Lux on the 4-hour chart back on the 8th a couple of days ago. So a lot of reason to like this level for a potential reversal on Injective. I come into the oscillators as well. Now these are a lot higher. I was going to say these are a lot higher than I thought they were going to be. 4-hour chart. Let's see if those are lower. Yeah, 4-hour chart definitely showing that the 4-hour chart wants to show that we're overextended and ready to go. Daily chart, I wouldn't call this necessarily overbought and needing to correct. What we could see happen is these oscillators cool off back towards the mid-level. They get like a breath of fresh air is the best way to put it. They breathe a little bit, and then they're able to rally back to the upside. However, anytime you see, I will say, people, anytime you see a high-level oscillator move and then a cool-off in both the oscillators and the price action, you want to be aware of bearish divergence coming into play later on. So even though I'm bullish on 24, we have this big breaker block up above us. And if this price were to do what I think it could do, come down here to 24, and then rally up here possibly to $32 and get a rejection, I wouldn't be surprised necessarily if the oscillators did something similar where they kind of came down, excuse me, let me draw this. There we go. Came down lower and then came up to a lower high. Oh, and I did not draw that in the unison whatsoever. So let's just do this. Let me get rid of all the rest of these. I want to make this simple and easy for you guys to understand. I wouldn't be surprised to see the oscillator come down and then rally back up and set a lower high. And in that same time period, you'll have a higher high in price action, but a lower high in oscillator. These are the types of things I look out for when I look at the future pricing of the chart. So bullish if we hit to 24.50, but watch out as we start to get above $30. 32 to 30, 33 or so could serve as some longer term resistance with that bearish break.
All right, let's talk about this. All right, I'm going to interpret everything Tim said, and I'm going to give you my technicals on INJ. It looks like crap. Okay. You know what? Even if we get a little move down and then a little move up, that chart doesn't look good. And let's just talk about this a little bit, Tim. Another crypto that doesn't look good is SEI. SEI. Now, SUI is looking better, but SEI not so good. INJ been a great performer, but the fact is it's not been getting any love. Now, the fact is that as far as crypto pairs, only 8 altcoin pairs with Bitcoin have made a new high so far in this crypto cycle, which means that there's a lot of altcoins, not even including the legacy coins, which have not been doing well. But here we've got INJ and SEI are not really showing a lot of strength when we would be hoping they would show strength. Now, personally, I believe that in a couple months, that looks to me like the potential of a cup pattern forming. So I see a little bit more sideways action, largely moving to the upside eventually. But at the moment, price is suppressed. It's not a good looking chart. He's talking bearish divergence. I saw it in the chart. I like INJ, and I want to see it take off like a rocket. But right now, the chart's not telling me that. Is it telling you that, Tim?
Yeah, you're talking about SEI?
INJ. We could talk about SEI too, because they're the same ugly looking chart. Why don't you throw SEI up?
Yeah, well, Injective, yeah, I told you guys, I like potentially a bounce at 24.50 and then maybe a move back up. But then you come to SEI, and SEI's actually got some somewhat confusing stuff going on. Let me get rid of this for a second. I was actually drawing on this while you were talking there, Josh. So if I'm bearish, and here's some chart vision for anyone, you have to look at things and try to get multiple perspectives. If I'm leaning bearish, what I'm seeing right here is called a descending triangle. more often than not, with these flat bottoms and descending levels of resistance, the price usually ends up going to the downside, and it could see, say, drop back down somewhere to 28 cents, 28 and a half cents. So let's keep that in mind. There's a bullish side of this. Let's change the color of this line, but there's a bullish argument to be made that maybe you could say, well, let me change the color here to blue just so I can see blue lines. Well, Tim, what about, could this be a falling wedge of types, which more often not break to the upside? That would have a price prediction somewhere in the realm of, if we move this over, if we were to break out somewhere down the line here, maybe up to 91 cents. So some pretty big swings in prices. When I turn on Luxalgo, especially here the daily chart, I see a big breaker block up above us. I see a lot of negativity after we rejected on an order block right here. And then I come down here and we have a weak order block down at 35 cents. But as a whole in the daily chart, we're under a sell signal with a take profit starting at 34 cents. It could get as low as 19. I think that's a little much. But I look at this, and it's going to be really important to see what happens with these lines. If I turn off Luxalgo, it's going to be very important to see, more than likely we'll break through a red line on the bottom first. So if we break this red line, do we bounce right here one more time? In which case you're like, oh, that red line is very important. If we lose it, well, do we bounce on this blue line and potentially keep this as a falling wedge? That'll give me some positivity. But when I look at the oscillators, I see a lot of resistance here at the 50 on the RSI, meaning the bears are in control, and the bulls will come back up, and it'll be like there's a breath of fresh air, but ultimately, you're just allowing the bears to regroup, and that's what those rejections mean. I see more room to the downside there on the RSI. There is a positive over here where we have positive money flow, but what's crazy is we had the excessive sellers leave, we had the money go positive, and then the oscillator went bearish and went to the downside, meaning even with the positivity of the money flow turning back to being positive, the markets are still moving to the downside. So I lean towards being a little bit more critical of Say. And I'll be honest, I don't study Say in depth, but Say is not in my bag of my portfolio that I'm be holding for this long-term bull market. I'm not saying it won't go up at all, but when I take a look at a lot of different things, I'm not excited about Say right now fundamentally. The charts are showing mixed results, but there's more arguments potentially to call for a downward movement. I'm leaning towards a price coming down between 34 to 29 cents on Say sooner rather than later.
Yeah, so let me give you my deal. I am Say saddens me. I had a 40K bag of Say, Tim, accumulated between 56 cents and my stop loss at 48 cents. And so I have given money back to somebody who was shorting Say. And, and it had a very mixed chart. It's been a very mixed chart. This one wasn't a winner for me. I'm going to quickly just show you my chart on Say. Let me see if I can pull that up. I see the exact same thing that you're saying. I thought of not letting it go. First of all, we had an ugly triple top back here. I had a great call on Say back in the day where I said when we were here, I told everybody that we were going to get to 114, and we literally hit it on the penny. An incredible call. But since then, I've had a couple attempts at getting back in. I got in here only to get stopped out here. And then I largely started getting back in around 56 cents, only just recently to get stopped out at just under 50 cents. This has been a disappointment. Let me just go through what I think ultimately. We're dealing with the fact that we've got structure back here that we've been skirting along this entire time. I see these channels here, okay? Tim just told you that there was a breaker block of resistance at 80 cents. I could easily see us recapturing this channel here, right? I could easily see a breakout move occurring on Say and us recapturing that. I was hoping to take advantage of that. At the moment, I'm not in it. I'm just going to set my alert for it to recover above 49 cents. I'll also set an alert for a 32-cent price. I actually had thought that was an option. So I'll have an alert set here at 32. I'll have an alert set here at roughly 50. And if it pulls back, I'll buy it. If it breaks over, I'll watch it. If it holds and gets moving with high volume, I'll try to jump in it to recover some of my losses back to 80 cents. This is going to be news driven, Tim. Let me just mention that. So there's an unlock coming on Say in August. And so here's the problem. I don't know what all is holding Say down. Could be fear of regulation. There was some Say pairs that were dropped by Binance. There's an unlock coming in August of, I don't know, $80 million. And so these things might just keep Say down for a long time until we get past them, and then it could just take off and rip back up. I can't say Say's not been a big winner. Now we're near the end of our time. I'm gonna pick one more. Okay, I guess I gotta do Doge for the fam. Again, thank you guys for joining me. We're at 770 likes at the moment. Why don't you all throw in, we got over 770. Let's get us up to 1,000 before we conclude. And let's finish things up with Doge. Go ahead and throw up Doge, Tim.
Yeah, looking at Doge here. Okay, so the first thing that's very obvious is a descending level of resistance. But I'm kind of backing out to kind of see what else is going on here. There's kind of a weird, it's going to be a pennant of kinds, but I don't really know. I'm just going to kind of draw a cross and try to find the most confluence. Now, we're flirting with this line right now, but we have a little bit of a symmetrical triangle here in play on Dogecoin at the moment. And if you really want to stretch it, this is going to be big because that pennant's pretty large already. But you can make an outside argument for Doge to be in a bull pennant, which could send price. I don't know why I had that up there. I don't remember last time I did Doge TA. I would move this down here, though, and say 36 cents if we get a bullish breakout in the upcoming event. Like if we see Bitcoin start to break up to the right and Ethereum breaks up, if we see Dogecoin follow, if we get some big news from XRP, absolutely. So this is the bullish side of this breakout. The bearish side, and we're flirting with support at the moment. If Doge were to fall, you honestly could see Doge. I don't see that. I don't see Doge falling back down to 7 cents. I don't like that prediction, but that's what's on the chart right there from the simplicity side. Let's take a look at the more in depth sell order here more recently. We're on an order block, but this order block right here in confluence with the take profit on the daily chart looks interesting. Back down to the wicks that we had back on March 20th and April 30th. So watch for that. I mean, watch for a little bit of a move back down here on Dogecoin. Let's see if we look at the oscillators. The oscillators are looking pretty decent, like they want to make a decision to move back up to the right. We're not seeing the money flow being positive or the momentum being positive just yet, but we do see a green reversal. We do see the other oscillators look to be bottomed out and overextended to the downside. So I'll say this, on Doge, with what we're sitting on right now with some strong support, but a sell order that says we should drop lower, I'm going to sit and wait. I don't think I want to short Doge, but I don't think I want to long at the moment either. I want to probably wait for closer to 12 cents. And then let's examine when we hit 12 cents, what do the oscillators look like? They're close right now, but if I can get a turn on the Luxago oscillator with positive money flow, I think that you could ride Dogecoin back up pretty significantly, at least back up to these ranges where we just were back in March, back to 22 cents.
Yeah, so there's my view on Doge right now. So I've given a couple predictions. My first higher prediction is that we would get to 36 to 40 cents. Now, if Bitcoin closes above 80K and really proves to us that we're going to go up into the next tier of the Fibonacci level that I've got, which could put it as high as 177, then Doge will just be barely getting started at 40 cents and could easily hit $1 in this cycle that we're in. However, if we get up to 77K and we get rejected and we see Bitcoin dominance fade for the summer, only for us to then begin to find a reversal in the fall and a new high in 2025, then it means that we might just come back up to 20 or 22 cents and create a double top on Dogecoin right now. You know, we looked at some charts, and I like to get an overall theme when me and Tim talk. It's not a straight shot that everything is pointing up right now. Some of our favorite cryptos are very neutral with both bullish and bearish indicators. Bitcoin sitting at around 67 can either come down to 64 or begin to move back up. The S&P 500 is actually in a pretty strong bullish trend. We got a big news day tomorrow, and I think that's going to tell us a ton. But, you know, we're going to have Tim back on here next week to cover these technicals. We'll try to get more covered as a personal goal. I appreciate all of you guys hitting the like. I'm going to go out on covering one more stock, and that's actually NEO. I saw a number of requests for NEO, and if you've been following me, I've made some predictions on NEO, and I want to use this as a learning opportunity. Let me get into my chart here. All right. Let me get over there. Okay, guys, let's talk NEO because I know that some of you guys have not. You followed me into the lion's den, but you didn't do what I did. Okay, so I originally made this a call when it was at 480, and I told everybody that going into earnings, there was an opportunity for us to ride this up. I've got this 542 marked with a lightning bolt and a time indicator. And I told everybody that this was going to be the top of the channel, and it was only if we got above it and held that we get the rocket ship that would take us to 605 and possibly 690. So every time I talked about NEO, first time we entered at 480, stop loss at 450. Once we got above the middle of the channel, when we got above $5, I did a video on Thursday or Friday and said, Monday or Tuesday, if we push higher, I'm going to bring my stop loss up right underneath the middle of the channel. And then when we got to the top of the channel, I told everybody when we were above the channel, I said, raising my stop loss right beneath 542. That's where it was. Now, guys, this is a straight money call. We got up about 17% opportunity. And when we got there at the top, I said, if you're a conservative trader, lock in your gains, raise your stop loss. Now, the fact that we got rejected, came back into the channel, back tested the channel, right? And then we dropped to the middle of the channel. I've taught you guys that the bears control the bottom half of the channel. The bears control it, right? Now we've come to touch the bottom of the channel. And I don't even want to talk to you guys about NEO. Forgive me for complaining, fam. I don't even want to talk about NEO because I'm worried that if you follow my technicals but you don't follow my disciplines, I'm not sure you're going to make any money. I'm going to walk away having made money on NEO, and some folks who did it their way are going to lose money. So if we hold the bottom of this channel, it's another decent spot to potentially take a risk position. Now, am I telling you to get back into NEO right now? No. You see how we came down and touched the bottom of the channel and we got 2 green days above the bottom of the channel? That's what gave me the confirmation that we could possibly come to the top of the channel. In general, we're beneath a very critical structure of 480. And I also told you guys back in the day, if we're beneath 480, we're very much in the bear territory. If we're above 480, we're in the bull territory. So right now, we're in the bear territory. There could be an argument made for taking a risk position here in the next couple days, but in general, it's not enough to entice me personally. When we got up here, I warned everybody to keep an eye out for this. You know, I explained to everybody that 542 was structure above 480. I drew this giant structure block to warn you guys that it's hard to fight through structure. NEO's proven at the moment that it can't. Well, you know what? So is Tesla. Tesla's on the downturn. Imagine this is Tesla at 140, and imagine that this is NEO, imagine this is NEO when Tesla gets to 160. There is an argument to be made to taking risk on NEO right now. However, I'm personally not a big NEO guy, so I'm going to stick with investing in Tesla unless I do a small swing trade. I'm not going to do a small swing trade on NEO because I don't want to manage NEO and Tesla. But I will tell you that if this holds and we make another, we kind of do one of these, then I would say that if you're a long-term NEO holder, I would be encouraged by the fact that we've made a new higher low. That's how I view the NEO chart. Tim, before I sign off, any thoughts on that NEO chart?
Yeah, NEO's. I'll tell you what. There's a lot of better looking charts out there than NEO right now.
I think that's well. Go. I was going to say that's a perfect spot to end. But
yeah,
never
the only
mind.
thing
Go
I
ahead.
say is every now and then, if there's value there, I mean, there's that Warren Buffett quote that's like, you buy when there's blood in the streets, even if it's your own. Well, when you look at that NEO chart, there's a lot of blood all over that chart.
I will tell you guys, if you want a stock I'm in that I haven't talked a lot about, I'm in Coin. This is a position that I'm holding, and I'm going to continue to hold. I think they're going to do real well, even if Bitcoin, it's not as tied. It's tied to Bitcoin. It's tied to the alts, but not as quickly tied to it as like MicroStrategies or the miners. Because as long as Coin has a better quarterly earnings ahead, if we had a ton of crypto activity in this quarter, and they've got a great earnings report ahead of us, it means that this thing can continue to pop all the way to that earnings report. So if you wanted my less talked about but more higher confluence bullish view on anything crypto related that's a stock, it's actually Coin right now. I'll leave you guys with that. That's your bonus call for the end of the video. Tim, thank you for joining me, guys. Hit that like, hit the subscribe to get the next Technical Tuesdays with Tim, and make sure you head over to Investing Bros and subscribe there. It's well worth your time. We're not going to do a follow-up video in the Discord today, only because I've got a meeting I've got to go to and I'm a little late for, but we will do that if it allows for Tim's schedule next week, and we're going to get into more details there. If you guys want to get ready for that, then follow the link I'm going to leave for the Lux Algo Indicator. You guys see how much we use them and how truthfully accurate they've been. I wouldn't suggest you get them if you didn't have a place where you could learn about them and watch two traders trade them. But with that indicator and the time that we're sharing them, I think it's well worth making that investment. Check it out. Thank you, Tim, for joining me. Have a great day, guys. Peace and blessings.